All right, welcome to the Money Action Plan today. We are going to go through a few different things today. One is going to be the game of money and how society has trained us to play it wrong. We're also going to go deep into all of our money personalities and find better ways to work with our personality because we are not going to change ourselves. We cannot change if we are a spender or a saver or if we just avoid money completely. We have to just find ways to give ourselves almost like lanes to drive in and buffers so that we don't veer too far off course. So we that stay focused, that work with us and not against us. I
Okay.
always think of it like dieting. When we force ourselves to diet a certain way, we might lose 10 pounds, but then the next month we gain 20 pounds. When we try to change too much at once, or we're just fighting against who we are as human beings, our makeup and stuff. All right. So here we're going to learn the game of money, what your money personality is, find money systems that work with your personality, and hopefully walk away with tools to save more money, grow your money, earn money, pay off debt. Really get a lot more strategic with it so that it doesn't take us twice as long, three times, four times as long to get to the same place, especially with our money. Okay. I'm here because I love helping. I just want women everywhere to be educated on their money. And why that is so important to me is because I've seen from both of my grandmothers' lives, their retirements, their divorces, what it's like when you are thrown into a situation and you've never dealt with the money before, or it's so overwhelming that they avoided it and lived in such a state of fear and insecurity about their money the entire time. And also because I know there is more out there for all of us women. There is more than just a typical 8 to 5 job where you clock in and you clock out. And if you want more than just standard mediocre results, that's why I put together such a community that just focuses on the money, but your lifestyle, your career, your relationships, just such a holistic approach to it. And what we're going to go in today has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, Oprah, and I've had book signings at Barnes and Noble, Alison Olivia, Lululemon, among other places all over the United States. Okay, I always say I'm tickled pink to be here. So thank you, Joy, for participating today. Here we have some women that are going to watch this, the follow up. But most of you know about me. But how I started was the blog, Not Your Father's Advisor, to just make money more fun and approachable for women, less overwhelming and intimidating. That spurred my first book, Strong Woman, Stronger Assets. That spurred my Strong Retirement Club, the community for women near in retirement, which then gave birth to Time to Refine, our book mostly around retirement. We have our Pink Fix Productions, which puts together all of our events, does our publishing, everything. And then Money Empire program, which is my latest creation, but it really is about getting us to a place with our money so that we no longer have to work for the paycheck. We work because we want to. The money is set up so that we have complete freedom, we have choices, we have opportunities now. We're not tied to a paycheck anymore. What we're doing starting in January is actually combining all of these into just one community. Very simple, but we're basically taking the best of the best from all of these and combining. To give you an example, the Money Empire will have a one-day event. The Strong Retirement Club will have a one-day event. We'll have our Pink Fix team. We have a mortgage broker, estate attorney, life coach, and accountant. They'll all be featured throughout doing wine and wealth episodes, interactive things with all of our members and stuff. All right. So now we are going to dive in. So excited. But it all starts with how we invest. There are three ways that we invest as human beings. We invest time, money, and people. And what I've noticed with women are we tend to prioritize people and relationships. It's probably why we're very good at connecting people with one another, networking. It's also interesting because I do so much work with women in retirement. They have so many more social networks than men do. men's social networks usually, and maybe some buddies from college or high school, the people they work with, but they usually don't have friends beyond that, or deep friends or best friends for so many years. But women, we really are the caretakers, and we put a lot into relationships. I've also noticed women business owners put a lot of sweat equity into their businesses. We'd rather save on the money side and put all our time into our business. Well, might be good in the beginning, but you get to a point when you are working more than ever with your own business when you started your business so that you would have more time. And then sometimes the money is kind of the last priority. So we'll take a moment here to see, where have you been investing? So Joy, you're going to be on the hot seat this entire time. The women who are going to watch the recording, you can take a moment, you can pause this if you want to, write down, where have you been investing? So Joy, where do you think you've been investing?
Well, I'm at this transition, right? So I've been in management consulting for a bit, and now I want to be a self-employed real estate agent. So in my consulting career, I spent so much time, probably not that much time on people because I was working too much and I was traveling so much. Um, I did invest in money, and this is what's allowing me to make this transition. Now, for the next phase, I think I'm investing in people with Big, for instance. Yeah.
Yes. Those who don't know Big, it's this amazing women's group. It's called Believe, Inspire, Grow. And like you said, when you're starting in that transition, you're starting your own career, business, or entrepreneur, kind of like you, great. It's like the networking. It's like an awareness campaign. I'm Joy. I do real estate for so and so. Because otherwise, people won't know to send you people, or they don't know what you're doing.
There's that, but there's also, I find that talking to people, especially other female entrepreneurs, is giving me so many ideas of how to communicate on social media, what's a priority, like where to put my time, where to put my effort. Yeah.
That's true. Yes. Very good. I've been doing calls with women all through the summer, just connecting with women from Big, other women who are entrepreneurs or they own a business or just a professional. And you're right, you always learn something from them, or there's somebody they can connect you with, and there's somebody you can help them with as well. Having those mutually beneficial relationships is key. And when you said about where to focus your time and stuff, finding the mutually beneficial ones instead of people always sucking you dry, which I also see on the family side with caretaking. One of my club members, I was on the phone with her just before this, and her older sister needed her help, and she kind of just thought Kathy would, stop working, take care of her 100%. And Kathy's like, well, I have my own costs that I need to make sure I take care of, my own house, my dogs, all these other things. So, and we're going to go into this boundaries as well. So it is really good to find those mutually beneficial relationships where you can really learn a lot from each other, support one another, find different people you can collaborate with is huge. Okay. So the disconnect. Women spend 80% of the world's wealth, but we only make 10% of it. This statistic is what always lights my fire with the mission of getting in front of as many women as possible, especially women in business who are owners or in the corporate world even, because you think about this, we have some power if we're spending 80%. I think it's actually 85% now. But imagine the influence, the impact we could have if we made more than 10% of it. And I am a big believer in, like you said, Joy, having connections with women, we can raise the bar all together. We can raise that 10% better if we're all doing it together instead of fighting against one another with it. And finding the women, like I remember when I started out as an advisor, I would reach out to other very successful female advisors, and a lot of them did not want to connect with me They saw me as a threat. They didn't want to have the shine like to share the limelight with anybody besides themselves. And it really turned me off until I found a group of women, and I'm still very actively involved with them. I'm actually one of the accountability coaches for this group of female financial advisors, because they were on this path that we all wanted to raise it together. We weren't competing, and we found there's more success if we shared what was working, what wasn't working. Probably why my two best friends, one's a money coach and one's a financial advisor. I get so many ideas from them. We never view each other as competition because there are plenty of women to work with. Okay? And I think that's the goal here is we can do so much more together. There's plenty of people to work with, right? Or there's plenty of houses to be sold and to be bought in New Jersey that the other realtors, they're not competition to you if you can all find ways to just elevate together. Not stealing from one another, but elevating the whole world of realty together.
Yeah.
The money game. So I was listening to a podcast. It was 2 years ago, and my business coach turned me on to it. And it was two very successful entrepreneurs, and they were sharing these ideas about the money game. And all of a sudden, to me, it just kind of clicked. Because really, there are two different ways to play the money game. There's the wealth game and the status game. All along, we've been taught the status game. The bigger house, the nicer car, the higher up job, right? Climbing the corporate ladder. You hear that all the time. You have a certain job, you have an expectation to have a certain size house. Your kids to go to a certain type of school, to go on a certain vacation. And it really is pinning us against one another. And when you think about it, it goes all the way back to that scarcity mindset with money. If my girlfriend got a $30,000 raise, that means there's $30,000 less out there for me. That's the status game, being jealous instead of seeing, wow, if she can earn an extra 30 grand, so can I. So it's pinning us against one another instead of, like we were talking about before, all of us being in this together. When I think about it in my role as an advisor and as a coach, I think of it as, well, if all the women in our community earn more money, which they do, they all earn more, save more, it helps me. And by helping me, it allows me to help even more women beyond our immediate group, right? The more money I earn, that allows me to help more women, right? I earn plenty of money. This is not about earning more money for me. It's really about growing this mission to help more women around us so that we all can grow together. That's the wealth side of it. So you can see it's scarcity, all the way to its core is scarcity versus abundance, right? The wealth is there's plenty of money out there for all of us. And this is why I love having my group, our community, because if you see somebody having success with the same money system that you are learning from me, you're going to be that much more incentivized to act on it and implement that money system, because you're going to get that same result that she got, maybe a better result or a quicker result, because now all of a sudden we are learning from one another. We're giving each other inspiration and seeing that success. That's the quickest way to build your belief. Think about in your new career, Joy, if you see a new strategy working for a realtor, you're going to want to use that strategy because you're basically borrowing her belief that it works. Mm-hmm. My business coach teaches, right?
Yeah.
I know I see mindset coaches all the time, money mindset coaches all the time, and you can work for years on your mindset. And I'm not saying it's not important, but you could work literally for months, for years, spend thousands of dollars on it. The quickest way to change your mindset is to act on a behavior and see the results work or not work, and then you fail fast and you move on. You learn from it and you move forward. But the quickest way to build a belief is to see someone else's success, to see your success. And that just keeps fueling your belief and wanting to act and take more and more action.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So then we go into the first memory of money. And this is a big one, and I'll share my first memory of money into what were you taught from such an early age? Was it the wealth or was it the status side of the money game? So my first memory of money was had this little tin in my closet, and I would keep all my money in it. And every day I would go in my room. I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I go in my room, I would lock the door, and I would count my money. I would make it pretty. There was only a few dollars in it. I promise you, there wasn't much. I would close it up and I put it in my closet, shut the door. Whenever I would act out, and I would run into my room and I would lock the door. My parents, they would come and they would bang on the door. Jessica Claire, if you don't open this door right away, we're taking all your money. And in that instant, I learned very quickly that money can be taken away from me. And it scared the heck out of me. That was the first fear of money that was instilled in me. And it also played into that scarcity, right? The money's taken away. I'm going to have to start from scratch. I have to start all over again, accumulating this money, saving this money. There's not enough money out there to start all over again. There's not enough time. So right away, it played right into the status game, the status side of the game. Now, when we go into the money personalities, I want you to remember this scenario, because if you think about it, somebody could view that situation and say, well, if money is going to be taken from me, I'm going to spend it before somebody else takes it from me. Mm-hmm. And they could very easily spend all their money, be in debt, because why not? It's going to be taken anyway. Another personality could view that money and say, well, I need to protect my money. I need to hoard it. And I see this a lot, especially with single women, hoarding money in various bank accounts, terrified that it's going to be taken from them, and so scared to spend a dime of it. So you can see how two very different people can approach it, that same memory. Yeah. So I want, if you're watching the replay of this, I want you to pause the recording and write down your memory of money and see which one does it align with. And how has it influenced you now, 20, 30, however many years later in your life? Joy, do you remember what your first memory?
Well, I didn't have a tin, but I had a little piggy bank. And I think for me, it was clear very early on that I would save up to buy something very special. So I was really into horse riding. And I mean, I saved for years to be able to buy a nice leather bridle or a saddle or whatever. Not something very expensive and precious. And it took me like 6-7 years of everything, you know, I was saving everything until I could get there. The other memory I have is also, you mentioned having your money taken away. And when I was 7, our house was robbed. And they took everything that was precious. And I remember running to my bedroom and looking at my piggy bank and counting all my little coins. And I was convinced that they had taken one coin. Obviously they hadn't taken anything. But they had taken my mom's jewelry, and I think that was really, I saw how much it affected her, like her having that taken away from her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a very traumatic thing to happen, especially at that early age.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with things that we can't replace. Those type of events always seem to put things in perspective. So if she had jewelry that was passed down or very special to her or given from your father for certain occasions, that would be very difficult.
Yeah, and she's refused to buy nice jewelry ever since. Yeah.
So that has definitely stayed with her, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you for sharing. And the saddle, that makes a lot of sense why you've always been a saver. You remember conversation and stuff. All right. So what I've come to realize, especially since I work with so many women going through a transition, is we come to a point in our life when we either want more money because of stuff or time. And I had a call with a woman, and exactly, she wants to have a family soon. And yeah, it was yesterday. She's a realtor, just like you, Joy, in Texas. and she's built this empire. I'm going to interview her for my next book, Money Empire. And she does, I think, like 20 million a year in real estate sales. Huge. She has 4 children, and she goes, and I was asking her, I'm like, I'm sure you have a team of support. And I was actually thinking of you, Joy, when I was asking her these questions. She goes, I do. She started to name, she has different realtors that she's been slowly bringing onto her team, one for sales, one for buys. She goes, and now what I'm going to do is once I lock down the new clients, I'm then going to put them in with one of my agents, and I'm going to step out because now I want time with my children. I've built this, I've done the groundwork. Now I'm going to be able to take a step back and
Mhm.
still earning more money and bringing more money in for all of the, think about that, bringing in money for all of these agents and helping them elevate their lives as well as hers and her family. And to think how cool that is for her daughter, she's got 4 daughters, to see her
Mhm.
making this impact, not just on their family, but on all of these families, on the entire community. So for her, now it's time. You've bought enough stuff, you have a big enough house, you have enough money, and I see this a lot with retirement. All of a sudden, you have enough money. I remember one gentleman saying, I learned I've had enough with the job and I had enough money. He came to that point, and I think
Yeah.
that is it. You come to that point where you really don't need any more money from this. You're fine living on less because you just want your time.
Mhm.
Or with the big health scare, same thing. So my job is to make sure that you have enough money when that time comes so that you can focus on your time, your health, your family, whatever that is, so that you can enjoy yourself. And also with your business, the more money I earn, like I said, I don't need any more money to live on. But the more money I bring in, the more I can expand on our team beyond just our professionals, my 2 assistants, all of that. That allows me to have more time one-on-one with the women in the community. And it also allows me to have more time with my family. So less time in the operations of things, more time doing what I love doing and what's going to be the best value for the women that work with us, and same with my family.
Mhm.
And I think, knowing the other women, they're probably on the same path of prioritizing their time. Some people are never going to get to that place, and that's fine. It's not for everybody. The people who are constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses, they want the bigger and bigger and better, they tend not to come into my community. They tend to know they're kind of on that fast track. They want that, what they think is the American dream and stuff. But I think the new American dream is being financially independent and free and not tied to their desk anymore.
Yeah.
So, what is a trade off with money? I just read a book, Your Life or Your Money, and it made it such a good point. It said, are you working for a dying or for a living? Basically, what we're just talking about. Are you working so hard that nothing is left by the end of the workday? You've spent the best of you at work, there's nothing left for your family. And then you think about all your work related expenses. If you need to open up a bottle of wine every night at the end of work, that's a work related expense. It's too stressful. If you need a vacation where you do absolutely nothing but sit on a beach because you're so stressed from work, that's a work related expense. When you start to calculate all of those things up, you realize you're really not earning that much compared to the trade off of your life energy, right? How much it's taken
Thanks.
from you. And Joy, that probably helped you with the decision of becoming a realtor, do you think?
For sure. The lifestyle I had in my previous job was definitely trading money for life or any healthy energy for sure. Yeah,
Good. So this is hitting home with you.
absolutely.
And now you know that. So you can be very strategic as you build this new business and always keeping that in the back of your mind, right? With every purchase, you're trading money for life energy. And I always use the example of my mom. Whenever I go to see my parents, my father's an advisor, I work with him. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sick of these calls. He's always on the phone." And I go, "Well, that trip to Costco you just did, that's 3 more client calls." So keep that in mind, mommy. You want him to work less. Well, there's a trade-off then, right? Where is that the difference of the money coming from?
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I always fall back to the money math. So, or the women there at, let's say, Home Goods, Amazon's $200. Well, where's that $200 coming from? Is that 2 extra hours you have to spend at work and not with your kids? I think it's always kind of a good reality check for us to keep in the back of our minds, because I know how easy it is to go run errands and all of a sudden your $500, $1,000 gone in just a few errands.
Yeah.
And we're going to start doing the money math too as we go into this. So a lot of times you can see where do you spend your time usually is where you spend your money. So where's your focus? Is it material items, the future, you're building your assets? Is it your business? That's usually where you're spending, or it could be investing a lot of your money. So a great way, because I always tell the women to track their money, another great thing is to track your time. An amazing tool for this is Toggl, TOGGL.com, where you basically can create projects and set a timer. So let's say it's social media. You set the timer, I'm only going to spend 30 minutes on social media, or just to keep track of where you're spending and investing your time and energy. How much time did you do networking? How much time did you do on your actual money or on your business plan? And it will very quickly find leaks in your schedule. And even if you work in the corporate world, you can use this and bring it to your boss and say, this project that brings nothing to our company is causing me 80% of my time. Maybe we should rethink how we're doing it or find a better system, automate something. Okay? It's very good. One of my good friends that she comes and speaks to our community, she's amazing at systems. And she says, you really have to have a systems audit. She talks about Toggl. Write down all of your systems, whether it's for work, for your personal money, even cooking dinner. What's your system? Usually we're not being very efficient. We're just used to doing something because it's second nature to us. I see this a lot with our money. It's second nature to us, so we do it that way even though it doesn't work for us. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go into the money types. Let's see how we're doing on time. All right, awesome. Money type 1. Now, Joy, do you know what your money types are?
No, I don't know.
Okay, all right, so we'll go through it. Money type 1. Did you get the assessment I sent you?
I don't think so. I got the summary from the last chat, but no.
All right, I'll make sure you get it. You can take notes now.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we're falling all over the place with you. I am sorry about that. All right, so money type 1 is Spendthrift Sally. 5 years ago, this was my second money type. This is my second one. But Spendthrift Sally loves to spend money. I don't think you're this one, Joy. She doesn't think about the consequences of spending money. She sees a good sale. This is my mom. Sees a great sale, goes home, and she goes to my dad. Great news, Dan. I saved us $100. Well, did you really save us $100? Because you also spend $100. So it's still $100 out the door, right? One of my good friends who's a money coach, she has this great campaign about coupons cost you money. Just because there's a coupon doesn't mean that you need to spend money to earn that extra money, right? That's a whole scam of the retail world, our coupons. A great tip if you kind of get sidetracked or distracted with email coupons, set up a separate email account for all of your online purchases. This actually is an amazing idea. I can't take credit for it. This was Gail, but she's the life coach in our community, so I feel like I can borrow hers and give it out. And it's genius because you don't get distracted by those emails and you don't get inundated with them on your daily email list. you still always, whenever you buy something online, you need an email. So you set up a separate account. And what's great is when you actually do need to buy something, let's say it's from Home Depot, you need something for your house from Home Depot. You go through and there's a Home Depot coupon. They're not deleted, they're not lost. They're just sitting in this holding place until you actually need it, not when you want it, but when you actually need a coupon. But it's
Yeah.
another thing with when we talk about our time, how much time do emails take up in our day? And it's not just the time, it's the distraction. We're on a project, we hear that ding, we go over and we look, and all of a sudden we wasted energy and our focus. Now we have to refocus back on the task. I'm guilty of that too. So cleaning out our emails is a great time saver and also money saver because our time's not distracted and our money's not distracted. Okay. We go to this beliefs and behaviors. Okay. We are always justifying purchases. I deserve this. This was me because I was not happy at work before I found my true calling, working with women in transition, women wanting to build their careers, their businesses. And I would get so frustrated at work. I would get disappointed. Everyone wanted to keep the traditional path, even though I knew it wasn't working. I wanted something different. I kept getting shut down. I would do all this work just to get shut down. So I would justify going to the mall on my way home. And do you think I was thinking rationally when I would buy more and more dresses and shoes and bags? I was not thinking rationally. By the time I got home, I would have buyer's remorse. I would feel bad. But the problem is you're very impulsive. You're trying to fill a void or an emotional need, right? Very emotional buys. I have a woman, meet Diane, just down there as my reminder. But Diane, she did the same thing. She was divorced. A year after her divorce, she reached out to me and she's like, I kind of got myself into a hole. She spent the year after the divorce that she did not want, was completely blindsided by it. And she kept thinking, I deserve this. I deserve the new car, the nice vacation, the new clothes, the new wardrobe, fix up the house. And she got herself into such a hole. And it came to a point where we were going through tracking her expenses and she saw firsthand the money never lies. So tracking her money did not lie to her. She saw it every month. And I'll give her credit. She was very committed to it. She saw she could not afford the marital home anymore by herself. And it was costing her doing all these things that she really wanted to do, like travel, like be with her sons, help pay for their colleges. And she was crying to me the one day, and I said to her, why the house? And she goes, well, it's the stability of it. And I said to her, well, what about financial stability? And it kind of finally clicked for her. And I said, Diane, whenever you're about to make a decision, whether it's money, your life, an opportunity, anything, I want you to think, will this get me closer or farther from financial security, financial stability? And I think it's a great way whenever we have even career opportunities. Is this getting me closer or farther from that end goal? What kind of opportunity is this? Is this going to be a distraction or is this going to propel me forward? Okay. So Diane, all of a sudden, it clicked for her and she realized she does not want her boys to see her like this. She wants to be a role model for them and see their mom taking control over her money, over her life, and being happy and not being so stressed and bogged down every month about the bills. So a few different types of solutions here for Spendthrift Sallies. And I know firsthand because I've implemented them and reworked them, perfected them on myself, among others. But the biggest thing is getting clarity on money and values. So write down now, why is money important to you? Why? It's not what. Like when I ever ask, sometimes I speak to Girl Scout troops or young kids about money. They're like, because it buys us stuff. That's the what. What's the why? Why is it important to you? And I hear a lot of times the freedom, independence, opportunities. Sometimes it's success, right? In this area, a lot of times it's how we view success.
Yeah.
What do you think, Joy?
I think for me it's independence. Yeah.
Cool.
A little bit of success as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true. And especially, I don't think social media helps that, because now all of a sudden we see everybody's new house, their new business, what they're doing, all these exciting things that tend to cost money. Like, I need to do those things. Why am I not there? I want to be there. All driving behind it. And now I want you to write down your goals. Okay, so let's say 5 goals for your money. And it could be 1-year goal, 5-year, 10-year goal, whatever it is. I want you to write them down. And this is kind of the way it's set up. Like each time we're going to take different things to build upon.
Okay.
Very similar to kind of like our strategy session where I sent you, we have phase 1, we have phase 2. I'm not going to throw however many phases there are going to be in your plan, Joy, or whoever's watching, because then you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is way too much. Where do I need to focus today? Okay, so write down your goals and then prioritize them as best you can. And this is something that we also do one-on-one, because we want to look at what needs to get done, what would you like to get done, but then also what's a risk to your money today and in the future. What's a risk? Is it taking a leave from work because of your health, or being laid off, or even furloughed, what millions of people just went through and are going through right now, right? Is COVID-19 a threat to your money in different ways? Your income, your investments, your retirement, okay? Your job, okay? Becoming disabled or passing away. Like, how is that going to affect your family, your money, your legacy? Okay. Now, what you can do, an easy way, and Spencer Sally, one of the things is starting to make saving money doable in such small pieces. So what I say is pick 3 of the goals that you prioritize top, and set aside a certain bucket of money just for those goals. And then you just start dripping into them each month. Okay, and just start with 1%. Start small, and then you can keep building from there. And especially if you continue working with me, then we keep building until we hit these optimal savings rates. But it's a process, just like Rome wasn't built overnight. $1 million wasn't built overnight, unless obviously you hit the lottery. But typically it takes time. And the other funny thing how money works, the more money you get, the more complicated it gets. Now you can't just have one investment strategy, you need multiple strategies, right? You need different protections for your money as, right, your empire kind of grows. You need different types of support. Okay. Another big thing for Sally is what they call the superposition state in our mind. So this is, I talk about second nature because we have just how we do things, how you turn the doorknob, how you turn off the lights, how you blow your nose, how you shampoo your hair. All of that is so second nature to us. Spending money, especially for Sally, is second nature. Oh, it's on sale, I'm going to buy it. It's putting a pause in between those second nature, right? We think about it, now we need a pause before we act on it. That's exactly the superposition state, is having a pause to help us actually think it through instead of just doing it. Dr. Caroline Leaf, she's a neuroscientist. She's incredible. She's reversing the effects of Alzheimer's, but she talks about this in her book. What is it? I can get it for you. It's at my other office. It's a fantastic read. It's a hefty read, but she talks about the superposition state, putting pauses in between us just acting out what's second nature to us. So I do this in a few different ways, but a great one is to have, for the women who have credit card debt, what I have them do is wrap up their credit cards in a piece of paper or put the piece of paper in their wallet. And on that, it says 4 questions. Do I need this item? Did I need it yesterday? Will this get me closer or farther from my goals? What else can I be doing with this money? So thinking of joy, and as you become a realtor, this is exactly right. One of the big goals for people is to buy a house. So when they're out shopping, so for them to be thinking, oh, what else can I be doing with this money? Oh, that's right, I'm trying to buy a house or a second house, and just refocusing before they just go out and spend it, and then it's too late. Also, the fulfillment factor, right? How fulfilled will you feel with this purchase? And it can be small, like let's say I spend $200 on a dress, a pink dress, and I'm so excited about it. I get home and I realize I have 30 pink dresses in my closet already. Or what if I spend $200 on a picture of a beach, and my husband and I, we hang it over our fireplace and we stare at it every night, and it reminds us of when he proposed to me on the beach, when we got married on the beach, all of our beach family vacations, and we have that picture for 20 years. Same $200, but completely different fulfillment factors. But then you also bring that to a larger scale. I have women coming up to the decision of, do I want, I'm thinking of one client in particular, she's in my retirement club. She has a condo at the Jersey Shore. Does she want the bigger place? And she's constantly flip-flopping back and forth. And we have the discussions of, okay, well, what's going to give you the most fulfillment? What do you see yourself? Like having the small place where she knows everybody around her is very comfortable and familiar to her, but is it going to give her the same fulfillment as having her entire family, right? All of her kids, all of her grandkids, all in one house for Christmas or Easter's or whatever the holidays they celebrate, right? Labor Day, the big beach holidays. What's going to be the fulfillment factor? And what's the, right? There's always a dollar trade-off for them. Okay. Money type 2 is Cheap Chip. All right. So Cheap Chip, or my friend who's a Cheap Chip, she goes, call me Frugal Frank. She goes, well, never have enough money. Very scarcity mindset. Feel guilty whenever they spend. Spending money can make them feel very anxious and stressed, even physically nauseous. They could see the same $200 dress at Spendthrift Sally that's $100 off, and Spendthrift Sally's like, what a deal. I'm buying it. It's in my closet already. And Cheap Chip will be staring at that dress for an hour. Should I spend it? Oh, still $100. I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. There's never going to be enough money. They'll think about that dress for a week, for a month. They never kind of feel good enough to buy. They will research and over-research every option possible. They will spend 7 weekends researching the best washing machine. In the end, was that the best use of their time? Maybe not, to save a few $100s here or there. Will never earn enough money, and they do not like to take on risks. They much rather just kind of keep money in a bank account. So all of these, there's not one good money personality, but it's good to have some traits from all of us. So Spendthrift Sally does need a little Cheap Chip in them, right? And same thing, Cheap Chip needs a little Spendthrift Sally to know when to just go ahead and spend the money. If it feels really good, if it feels good in your gut, right? Lead with your heart. It feels good in your heart. And this is what I tell women. If they have a good feeling of working with me, if it resonates with them, then it is probably time for us to keep moving forward. They've got the momentum going. It feels good. It feels like they're on their path. They finally have some relief. Keep it moving. Same thing, Joy, you're having the same thing, right? When people looking to buy a house, and you're going to have the people like constantly flip-flopping back and forth. Mm-hmm. If it feels good in your heart, you're going to have to at some point make that decision. Right? You can educate them to death. You can research it to death.
Yeah.
But at that point, you just overthink it.
I get it. Yeah.
I'm reading a book. It's a famous book, right? Begin with Why, or Start with Why. And they say the same thing. When you don't make an initial decision from your heart, you're going to overthink it every time. Right? And I get this all the time. Like, I don't have enough money to work with you, Jess. I'm like, well, that's the exact reason why you work with me, so that you have enough money for these decisions, and we get yourself to a place with your money. You get a return on your investment pretty quickly to get yourself into that place. Or same thing, I don't have enough time. let's say I have enough time to work with a business coach. I don't know, we'll just make that up. Well, that's exactly why you work with a business coach, so you have more time. It frees you up. Okay, so learning when to trust your heart and your gut, do the pillow test, sleep on it, whatever you need to do. But what studies have shown, once you wait too long, you research and over research, you're going to overthink it, and you're never going to be happy with your decision no matter what you decide. Yeah. So solution, clarity over why you have limiting beliefs about spending money. So was it something you grew up with? Was it a traumatic event like Joy, you said with your mom? All of a sudden now she's terrified to buy jewelry because what if it's taken from her again? And that's not fair. I see a lot of times if somebody grew up in a household where they did coupons, they budgeted, and they were always told, no, we don't have money for that. That's always sticking in their mind. Or money doesn't grow on trees. What has to happen to feel secure to spend? It's kind of like having a spending plan. As I say, have a spending plan that complements your saving plan. You can open up, this is the last tip, a fund bucket where you put 3-4% of your pay in, and that's money that you just use on whatever it is that's going to be fun. This was my neighbor. Her parents, they're kind of like those millionaire next door. You wouldn't think it. They have a very modest house. They live modestly. They have a lot of money to their name, but it's because they were very focused. They didn't try to keep up with the Joneses. And their daughter, she came to me, she's now a client, she goes, I feel guilty going to the bar with my friends out of college and spending $50 on drinks and food. And I said, well, set up a fun bucket where you just put that money into each week, each month, and you just enjoy it. You go on trips, you travel, you do things, right? Enjoy it, because now, especially now, she doesn't have responsibilities of a family. So do it. So that is what helped her feel secure. Now I want you to all, if you're watching this, pause it. Joy, I want you to write down, what is an hour of your time worth to you? What is 1 hour of your time worth? Or what would you want in an ideal world? What would you want to be paid for 1 hour of your time? It's a very hard question, and chances are everyone is going to be low compared to what their value really is. But I want you to write it down. There's no right or wrong to this. I think of all your expertise, your experience, your knowledge, what you know you're capable of doing. Even if you haven't done it yet, what you know you are capable of doing. And I want you to keep this number handy. Someplace where you're going to see it when temptation lures you into, like, I don't know, getting distracted. Or even, I have women, they're looking for a new job or consulting job, something. Like, stick to your guns with this. This is why so many women settle. They don't ask for raises. They don't ask for promotions. They don't go for a higher paying job. Or they're scared to out earn their husband. I hear all of these things from the women. Have this number present so that you can be very focused and strategic when you're going for a new job or for a house, right? Is it going to be worth your time, your value? I see this a lot with women business owners, especially as they start out. They'll take anything. I was just like that. I'll help anybody. They don't even have to pay me and I'll help them. And then all of a sudden you're stretched too thin. You're not really giving anything to anybody because you're trying to help too many people with too many different problems. And they don't value you because they didn't pay anything for it. And I don't value it as much because I'm exhausted. One, I don't have time to value it. I'm just stretched too thin. So it really helps, especially in the beginning. Or when you might have a few rejections, remember, this is what I'm worth. Okay. I had Caitlin in our Money Empire program last year. She's like, whenever I raise my prices, I get rejected a few times and then I lower them. And sometimes she would lower them even lower than before when she raised them. And I said, well, they can sense it right away if you aren't sure of your price, of your value. They can sense it. So if you don't feel secure about it, they're not going to feel secure about it or convinced. Okay. Which brings us to overgenerous Olivia, which is type 3. This is my top money type. Overgenerous Olivia. We want to help everyone. We give and we give and we give. And it could be with money, I'll give you an example. My husband and I, we are not having any more kids, so we are clearing out all baby stuff. Once my son is too big for something, I shipped it out of the house and we are giving to everybody. And my husband's like, well, we probably should be selling these things. I'm like, I don't care. I want to help. I know it's expensive. I want to help them. I don't care about the few $100s. Just get it out of my house. But we've kind of always been on that page where we always do, well, we're going to give a little bit more at weddings or for tips because, $20, $50, $100 here and there isn't going to make a big impact. But also with my business, when I started on this role, this mission to help women, I was like, I'm going to help anybody and everybody. And then I was getting people who didn't value me, who was sucking me dry of my time, my emotions, exhausting me. And I realized that they weren't valuing it because when people pay, they pay attention. But the first key is getting clarity over what you are generous with: time, money, or people. I would say, I guess I'm probably in time. I would say maybe not so much as time, but yeah, I do give a lot of time into relationships and money. It's really, I have any money left. But I remember this was a big thing working with my coach was, like I said, when people pay, they pay attention and they value it. And I value it even more because I'm going to work my ass off to make sure you get what you paid for, no matter what it takes. Just like we're launching our new community starting in January, I'm giving so much more because I want it to be such a huge hit and value and give the women so much more than they paid for. I'm going to work my ass off, and it happens every time. Every time I launch something new, I put everything into it. So, but I also need to be cognizant of boundaries too, right? I can't be at everyone's beck and call because I have a family and it's not fair to them. Just like August, I don't do any evening appointments because of how much of a toll it is on my family with 2 young kids. And that's the biggest thing with overgenerous Olivia is boundaries. So get clarity over what you are generous with. And why is it hard to say no? Usually it's because we want to help everyone. We want to please everyone. We want to look a certain way, right? Look how busy I am helping everybody. That must means I'm successful and being productive when you might not be earning very much. Or you have a low self-worth. My mother was verbally abused growing up by her mom. She was told she was fat, ugly, dumb. My mother is this beautiful, amazing woman and very intelligent. But to this day, she's very insecure. And she's such a people pleaser. She wants people to view her. She's trying to please her mom who's passed away, right? She's still trying to please her mom by pleasing everybody else around her. So she is nonstop volunteering at all these different places, and she's exhausted. And volunteering, she's not even getting paid for it. And people end up, they don't even value her because they just expect it of her, I guess. So for her, it's kind of all of these. She does want to help. She does want to please everybody, but she also wants to look a certain way. She doesn't feel good about herself. So that's a way for her to validate who she is. Okay. And understanding your triggers. This is Ann Didi. Ann Didi, she did my program a few years ago, and she's single, no kids, but she always felt the need to help her nieces and nephews and her siblings because her belief was, I earn more and I'm financially successful, so I need to help them. And what happened was Ann Didi, while her credit card bills were starting to pile up, her house needed work, she needed a new car, she had medical bills, her health wasn't the best. So she would have one bank account for her money. And whenever the kids, her nieces and nephews needed money, the money was gone. So she no longer had money for her house, her medical bills, herself. It was all gone to the kids. Her niece totaled her car, I think, 3 times. So 3 times she sent her $10,000 right off the bat. So one, she wasn't helping them, was she? She was just kind of enabling them and making them financially dependent on her. And two, and Dee Dee, her health wasn't great, and she knew she was going to have to retire in the near future because of her health. So she knew she needed to save up her money as much as possible while also taking care of present needs like her credit card bills, her house, her car, all of that. So what we did was, I talk about boundaries. We did a boundary with her money. We set aside different buckets of money, and one was still for her family that she would drip into, so she still felt good about it. But if the kids called and there wasn't enough money, she would just have to say not yet, or no, or ask again later. And now what she does is she uses that family money for a big vacation with everybody. So now she can enjoy it with them. So we physically put a boundary on her money.
All right.
I have the same thing with parents who have adult children, that we need to wean off of their financial dependence on their parents, because now they are adult children, they are working, and we do it in phases so they're not cut off cold turkey. I have a call with a woman at 3 today for this exact thing. But boundaries is very important, whether it's your time, your money, your relationships. Okay. So here we go. Go back to that number of how much your hour is worth, and I want you to double it. And then I want you to double it again. And it's going to sound crazy, but just do it. Do it to appease me. Okay. And it's probably a scary looking number. You're like, there's no way I can charge this amount of money. And I'm not saying for you to charge this amount of money. What I'm saying is for you to be so convinced that you're really worth this amount of money. Because remember, I told you that first number is probably going to be too low.
Yeah.
This is probably more in the ballpark of what you're worth. I want you to be so convinced over this number that when you give people your real price, they're like, oh, this is such a deal for them, because I'm worth, let's say I'm worth $3,000 an hour, and I'm giving it to them for $1,000. That is such a bargain for them. They are silly if they don't take this. That's how convincing I want you to be over what your worth is. And it's really going to help filter out all the distractions, the noises, and things that you really shouldn't be putting your time and attention to. I was watching Tom Hanks get interviewed, and they said, what was your biggest career break? What was that movie that set you apart, that raised the bar, that raised your quota? And he said, it was a project I said no to. I was like, boom, that made so much sense to me. And it is so true. There are times when you do need to say no, because you really aren't going to be helping them, and you're not going to be helping yourself. Like the people who suck you dry, that just take up your time and attention, you get nowhere with them. They're never going to make a decision about a house, Joy. You work with them for 10 years, they're never going to make a decision over the house. They just want to pick your brain, all that stuff. Right? I've seen it. But it is very true to help you stay focused. Remember this number, be so convinced by it. And know, there's a saying that my friends and I use. We say, some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. Because it's very true. It frees you up to bring in something else. If a job didn't go as you thought it would, something's waiting. And the pipeline that's going to be better for it. My husband and I just witnessed that with our rental property. We had a 1-year deal. All of a sudden, it didn't go through. We just got one for a 2-year deal that was more money. I kept saying to him, he was so upset. I'm like, don't worry, something's coming. Become aware of your triggers. Who are the people that tend to be the triggers, or what's the situation? What is it? And like I said, people don't value free. Now you can always find a way to do like a give back, right? My Pink Fix packages are our give back, where we send those out to anybody who is in need. We send out a book or a journal, an inspiring message, something, right? and in other ways too, we do give backs. But I always kind of use certain things. Okay, this is our give back campaign. This is just a way to help. We get nothing out of it. We just want to help. And you can have that too, so that you feel better about charging other prices when you can't. And you can't help everybody, no matter what. We can't help everybody. Okay. Type 4. We have 2 more to go. So type 4 is delusional Dan. Delusional Dan. Dream big, talk big, act big. But sometimes they just talk big and they don't act big. And you probably can think of people in your life that are always saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And there's never any follow through on them. And sometimes there's a reason for that. Okay. So I want you to think about, do you have big dreams? Are you daring enough to even have big dreams? Because sometimes we're like, I'm just going to have this typical corporate job, have a nice house, and that's my life. But Gail, who's our life coach on our team, she told me I have this whole dashboard planning thing that I've done with her. And the one posted is like, what are your life goals? And Fina's like, I'm going to write down TV show. She's like, I'm glad you did that. I'm like, that's a really big freaking dream. Who knows if it's going to happen or not? I mean, it'd be really cool if it does.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we're too scared to even say it out loud or to write it down. She's like, wow. You think about it, that'd be really cool if that happened. But we usually don't write them down. Or we do, but we don't take any action towards them. This is when I think of Joanne, my client. I met with her on a Monday. She brought me in a whole bag of homemade chocolate chip cookies because she's a baker. She left the corporate world to bake, and her goal was to one day open up a bakery. So what Joanne did, she went to culinary school. We sent her an apron when she graduated. She started working in bakeries, learned the business of it, the works of it, and every year she would come in and we would go through her plan and we would put into the plan owning a bakery, what the cost would be, the payoff, all of it. She could do it. It worked with her money. We did all the scenarios for her. And I think after the 3rd year, I finally asked her, well, why haven't you done anything, taken a step for this? We talk about it every year. Is this really what you want? And she goes, you know what? Bakery hours are horrible. You have to get up at 4 in the morning. Holidays, we work nonstop. And when you think about it, almost every month has a holiday that's big enough that the bakery is busy. And she has arthritis in her knees. So it was the physical demand of the bakery, plus the emotion side of it, the lack of sleep, everything. She goes, I really don't think I want that. So she found a nice in between where she does things at home for parties, small weddings, that type of stuff. And whenever she sees me, she's so sweet. She always brings me cookies.
Nice.
So sometimes it's just not in alignment with what you really want, or maybe the timing's off, right? The TV show sounds great for me, but I have 2 young kids. Is that realistic with how I want my family life to be right now? The solution, having an action plan with a mentor. I think the action plan has been a very recurring theme this summer when I'm talking with women. I need a plan. I don't have a plan. This is making it very apparent that I don't have a plan. Kind of living by the seat of my pants, flying by the seat of my pants, kind of doing whatever sounds good, not really sure if it's moving me forward to that overall goal. So the plan with the mentor for the ongoing maintenance. And like we talked about earlier, the phase 1, phase 2, right? Implementing as you grow and mature in your careers. Get clear on whether you really want it or if it's just a cool dream. It's fine to have cool dreams. We all have them. Surround your people with who have done it or are doing it. So that's very important, why I'm still very involved with my business coach and that group of women, because they've done it or they're doing it or they want to do it, just like me. That's why I have my community of women who are very like-minded. They want that financial independence and freedom because it's such an incentive. You see them doing it, it's going to get you back on the horse, get you going, kind of light that fire under your bum. The biggest thing is really chunking down these dreams into small daily tasks. Something we're going to do next month when we do our challenge And that becomes your overall plan. In implementing one task a day, a week, that's just going to keep you moving forward, is why I have accountability check-ins, which you'll get a taste of during next month. But even in our communities, we have accountability check-ins. It's probably the number one reason women work with me is the accountability check-ins. And then me pushing them and knowing what's next, what do they need to be doing next. They don't have to figure it out themselves. They just come to me. They know. Boom. Plan before you spend. Research before you spend. I love when I see people who, a lot of women starting out in their business, they come to me like, I'm going to do this business coach. I'm going to have this website. And they start nailing all these things. I'm like, how much money are you investing into this right now? Like, how long is it going to take you to get a return on your investment for all these pieces? Maybe we should do some research first before you spend, right? Like a masseuse. How many massages do you need to sell in order to recoup what you've just invested? And does that make sense? Because I see when they spent $5,000-$10,000 on a business coach and they have one sale from it, maybe. Drives me crazy. But making sure that we're not just like they just throw money at a problem. We don't want to do that. We want to be very intentional. All right, last one. How's this been so far, Joy?
Great. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, money type 5 is avoider Al. Why she has a blindfold on. Or Alice, I guess in this case. Avoider Alice. A lot of times I see people avoiding money because it brings up a painful memory. Maybe like your mom with the jewelry, or guilt, or resentment. I speak at Rutgers for their personal finance class every year, and I ask the kids, who has ever seen their parents fight about money? And they all raise their hands. They've all witnessed a fight, an argument, a disagreement, tension in the house. Maybe you didn't see it, but you come downstairs and there's this tension between mom and you're like, something's going on here. Or with a spouse. And you think about that, if you always witness your parents fighting about money, you might not bring it up to your spouse because you think it's going to cause a fight. So you hold it in, and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Maybe it was an issue or problem, and now it's a huge problem you have to deal with, and now you're even more scared to bring it up because it's going to be a huge issue or fight.
Yeah.
So what causes you pain with your money? Is it debt? Is it not where you want to be? I hear some women, I feel like I'm constantly catching up, or I'm scared I'm going to have to catch up. Is it low income, low savings? A lot of times too, I see when people say I'm not where I want to be, a lot of times we don't even know where we are, where we stand with our money, because we don't have the plan. And that's probably the most stressful thing of all, is just not knowing. Again, well, a lot of women reach out to me because I just don't know what I don't know, and I need a sanity check of where I am and where I need to be. Oftentimes, too, we overworry because we're overstimulated. I've gotten too much information thrown at me. I don't know what's relevant, what I need to work on, what I need to think about. I'm overwhelmed because I'm overstimulated, which makes me disorganized. And then I'm not fully committed because I just don't know where to begin. There's too many inputs, research, people telling me what to do, sharing insights with other people. Now I'm overwhelmed. This is making me disorganized because I don't know where to begin. And now I'm just not committed. That's usually the path that follows. We have the best intention and we want to be committed. We want to prioritize it. It's just we're inundated with too much stuff. So what's the solution? A community group with accountability is really important. It's why my business coach has a community, why I have a community. It's kind of why you've been seeing communities spurt up, like big, ton of different types of communities. I think making a money date with yourself, spouse, or partner. So what you can do now is schedule in your phone a time of day or a certain day dedicated, and this is what we're going to talk about in our challenge, a certain day dedicated to personal money, a certain day dedicated to the business money, a certain day dedicated to retirement or family. or a month, whatever it is, however much attention you need at that time. And with your spouse or partner to do it too, right? I do Sunday evening with my husband. I think it's also good to set yourself up for success. A lot of people try to do the money at the end of the day, but we really don't feel like staring at a computer at 7, 8 o'clock at night after staring at a computer all day long, especially now. We literally are staring at a computer all day long now. I think like the best time is probably Monday morning. That's when I do my tracking of my expenses because it's fresh in my mind. We just had the weekend. I know how to set myself up for the week. So being realistic with what's the most ideal time? Is it lunchtime? A little break from work? Is it right before you leave work? Nighttime's usually the worst time, is what I found. And also just making it consistent. If you're going to track, we always track our assets. You have to track them the same if it's the 30th of the month or the 1st of the month. You don't want to change up the dates and it's not a realistic time frame. Or it's, when it's 15 days and then a 30 day and then a 5 day. It needs to be consistently the same. How to make money a game and something positive and fun, which is exactly what our challenge is going to be. It's going to be an exciting game. We're going to make it so fun. We're going to have prizes and gifts throughout it. We're going to make it positive, something you want to do that's going to draw you back in and not want to avoid. Setting attainable goals to build beliefs and confidence. Similar to what we were talking about, the success, right? The best way to see success is to take an action, see it work, builds the belief. So setting really, really small goals, like small bite-sized pieces to keep chunking along. And like I said, taking action and seeing success immediately is the best way to build your confidence. Okay? Imagine that. Imagine if you got paid the dollar amount that I had you write for an hour and then double it and double it again. Imagine if you got paid tomorrow that amount of money. How quickly would your belief be that you're worth it? Like, oh, wow. And then the next day you got it again. Wow. You would feel so good about yourself and that number. You'd be like, I need to double it again. But that's exactly it. You want to see success right away. Okay. Let me take a drink. Those were our 5 personalities.
All right.
I want you to go back to your top 3 money goals. All right. That you wrote down.
Yep.
I want you to think, what will it cost you if you don't hit them? Mentally, emotionally, with your life, even with your money. Okay. Most of the business women who did our Money Empire in the fall, we talked this summer, like, thank God I did that because otherwise I would have been in debt. So that's what it would have cost them if they didn't hit their goals. Debt and a heck of a lot more stress during this time that we didn't need any more stress during this time. Okay.
Yeah.
How committed are you to them on a scale of 1 to 10? Right. I love working with women who are at a 10, even at an 8 or 9. We usually get them by the end of this to a 10. I love women who are committed because they take action, they get results, and that's just what I want for them. The women that I am dragging by their hair to get them to do a little bit of action to get them to see results. I'm like, this is your life. I partnered with you thinking we were in this together, but I feel like I'm just in this for you. We got to do this together. We partnered together for this. Okay. Now write down what are 2 to 3 things that you can start doing immediately from this call. Maybe it's to toggle your time. See where you're spending your time and your focus. Maybe it's to set boundaries with your money or with relationships. Who's taking your time and attention, right? Maybe it's setting up a bank account for fun money. Or finding that community of support or a mentor. Okay. What are you going to do right away? Because I want you to have things, very clear ideas of what to do. Those of you who are watching the recording of this, we have time after this. We have a 15-minute call. We can talk exactly about these things. You give me your ideas. We can work through them. Same thing, Joy. We went over a lot today, so maybe we'll keep our time tomorrow, if
Yeah.
that sounds good. And we can go exactly that. What are going to be the first things to focus on? Because usually some things need to get done first before you can move on to the next step. What do you need going forward? So what kind of support? So obviously things are constantly going to be changing with you, with your money, your plan, as you build your careers, hit your goals. We're going to be implementing different phases. It's how quickly you want to hit those phases and how much support you want going through them to navigate. So identify the phase, what needs to be done, and then executing them. And then for people who aren't, let's say the commitment isn't quite at that 8, 9, 10 yet. If you aren't ready yet, the best thing is to give yourself a time frame and hold yourself accountable to it. Okay, I'm going to try this stuff from this call for 4 weeks, 8 weeks. If it doesn't work by then, I'm going to need extra help, right? And not saying this to just work with me. I think I put it on a Facebook the other day. I'm literally connected to thousands of advisors. For some reason on Facebook, I'm connected to thousands of advisors, money coaches, whoever is going to be that next step of support for you. I can help you, connect you to somebody, I'm sure. My biggest goal is for you to always breathe. To have breathing room with your money, to find, I think the end goal really is peace with our money. Peace that we can chase a big dream, or peace that we can just stay home with our family if we want to, right? Peace in that security, knowing you can do either one of those, whatever it is that you want to do to set your money up for that. Okay. All right, so here's the link. I will send out this recording with the link as well, so don't worry about that. Joy, we already have our time set up. Leah and I have time set up, and then the others, well, you can get on the calendar, no problem. All right. So Joy, what did you think?
It was great. It made me think about a lot of things.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, the money types I thought very interesting. It made me think about my husband, my family, myself, and my friends as well, and people I'm going to work with. It's good to know how people work and how they understand money, because it impacts so many things in their life, and probably their likelihood to buy a house as well.
That's
Yeah.
such a good point. People who take this and apply it when they are with relationships and a transactional service-based business, it does really help them figuring out what do my clients need to overcome to make that decision that's best for them.
Yeah, exactly. How can I help them? But also, how can I be sensitive? This is how they're processing. Should I give them time, or should I help them with more information? What's helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked the different questions throughout that you were asking all of us to think about during this recording. Yeah, it was helpful. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. And you brought up a point too when you were thinking about your husband and relationships, family. I had a call earlier with a club member, and she was talking. She needs to get her estate documents done, her will, power of attorney, living will. And she goes, I keep procrastinating with it. I finally realized because every estate my family's had to deal with has become a huge fight among the siblings. A lot of contention, fighting, resentment, everything. And a big piece is because, like you said, everyone's taking in the information differently and viewing money from a different perspective. And that's exactly it. And then you go through something where you're grieving, and grief can be a very self-centered emotion because we're viewing how we are miss that person so much. And it's high emotions, high strung, and then you add money into it. And when you can't understand where that person's coming from, it ends up leading to an argument or a debate or just butting of heads during it. So it can help relationships.
Yeah.
If done well and stuff. And when she was talking about that, it kind of broke my heart because I've seen my share of family fights, settling estates, and even when you talk about marriages, relationships, and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.